I think it's safe to say that The Perfect Pair will always stand as a fan favorite episode for many years to come. The story of Bright Mac and Pear Butter's origins is overwhelmingly adorable and a heartwarming addition to the Apple family legacy. But take a moment and consider that when Pear Butter pledged herself to Bright Mac, she did more than just turn away from her father and her family. She might just be the first example of a pony in this show who rejected her cutie mark for the rest of her life. Think about it. When she joined the Apple family, it's very likely that she also left behind anything that had to do with pears as well. I mean, if Granny Smith's earlier behavior towards pears are any indication, and I imagine if Applejack and Big Mac had that kind of reaction when Applejack brought in a single jar of pear jam to their home, then I would assume that they were raised to have never allowed any kind of pears in their house at any time in their entire lives. So if their children were raised with such a mindset, surely the parents were already following the same mindset then, right? Would that mean that Pear Butter was rejecting her cutie mark when she came to live with the Apple family? I suppose that we'd first need to determine just what her cutie mark stood for. A jar of pear preserves, which she received long before she ever fell in love with Bright Mac, by the way, so I'd be willing to bet that it couldn't have had anything to do with him. If she had received that cutie mark taking part in the family business of growing, harvesting, and or preserving pears, then that moment of her choosing Bright Mac over her own father was more than just turning away from her own family. It would also be turning away from her own mark. The first known example of a pony to do so for the rest of her life. That is, if her mark represented growing, harvesting, and or preserving pears like the rest of her family. Throughout the course of MLP, we have learned time and time again that cutie marks oftentimes carry more subtle meanings than one might think at first. And I'd like to focus once again on just what kind of a mark Pear Butter has. A jar of pear preserves. There is another possibility I'd like to present here, and though it does seem like a long shot, perhaps it could show that Pear Butter might not have turned away from her cutie mark after all. If, say, the special purpose behind her mark was not directed towards the growing of pears, or even her one true love, Bright Mac, but rather her father, Grand Pear, maybe her greatest purpose in life was meant to raise a family who would one day help to preserve the Pear family as a whole from falling apart. It does seem to be quite a stretch, and there really isn't any way for us to be sure, since we may never see the moment when Pear Butter first received her cutie mark, but it does make you wonder. In any case, though, whether she may be the first example of a pony who rejected her cutie mark for the rest of her days, or perhaps fulfilled the purpose of her mark long after she had passed on, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the subject. Because, as always, I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.